Hi, I'm Katrina, and today I'm going to implement a Linux server to provide network services to a Linux client through VMware, and we are going to be using Rocky Linux. So to start, I'm going to configure DHCP to provide services from the server to the Linux client. So to start, we want to set a static IP on our host-only NIC on our server. So what I've just done is run a couple of updates. One was just an overall DNF update. The other one was to update the network manager, because when I tested this earlier, when I tried to set the static IP, there was just an error, just because the network manager hadn't been updated yet, and it caused a little mismatch error with a certain setting. So we just did update and restarted it. So it should work when we put the static IP in. I also just want to mention that I am using a NAT NIC just for the internet part. I tried using the bridge and it just wouldn't get internet, and it caused me a lot of issue. I tried troubleshooting a lot. I asked some people for help, and we just could not figure it out. So the purpose of this assignment, I just decided to just go ahead and use NAT, just so I can get through. So to start, since we want to set a static IP on our server's host-only NIC, we're just going to run nmcli. We're going to look at, devices to see which one we should put the static IP for. It will just tell us one is connected to the internet, so it already has an IP. The other one is not, because it's the host only, so it shouldn't have an IP, and that's the one we are going to use. So we're going to use device show. So if we see here, 192.168.10.155, that is our one connected to the internet, our NAT. And this one here, wired connection 1, has no IP. It says connecting, getting IP information or IP configuration. It will not, since there's no way for it to get the IP. That's the one we are going to set our static IP on. I found this a handy little command, connection show, because the device and the name could be different. See, like right here, ITAS182 and wired connection 1. So the actual name is wired connection 1, and that's the one we are going to use to set our static IP. And we are going to type in this long string here using nmcli connection modify. We're going to modify our connection 1, which is our one right here, and we're going to give it an IPv4 address. And the static IP we are going to give it is 192.168.92-24, subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, I believe. And then we're setting it manually. Alright, and we can just use that device show again to see. So we see it's connected to 192.168.92. And we can also see that connection show again, and is now green because it is connected. And see what I meant here with the wire connection 1, the name, versus the actual device is ENS192. Later on, I'm actually going to just rename it to ENS192, just because it's a lot easier than having the two different ones with wire connection 1 and ENS192. But for the moment here, we are not going to worry about that. So now we are going to configure our server to give DHCP services to our client that we have. And I just forgot, quickly, we are going to be, we have to use this command, mmcli connection up for wire connection 1, just to make sure that everything is just continuing staying up and running. Right now it's working, but this is always just a good safety measure. So now it's fully activated. For us to be using in the future. In order to provide DHCP services to our client, just to start, we have to install the DHCP services on our server here. So to do that, we just have to type in DNF install and we're gonna say DHCP dash server and dash Y. Okay, to start, we are going to go into the VI editor and edit the DHCP configuration file. So in our DHCP configuration file, we are just going to enter this part here, this subnet 192.168.9.0 and netmask 255.255.255.0. We are going to give it the range that we want, which is between 921 and 930. So it will give the client an IP within that range there. So the optional router is our static IP that we have right now for our NIC. So we are going to save that. Just really quick, remember how I said we changed the wire connection 1 name to the ITAS182? We are just going to quickly do that just so it will be a bit easier in our next part here. Won't make it as confusing. So we just do nm cli connection. We're going to modify wire connection 1 and this connection ID. It's going to be ENS192, which is the same name as the device. Just to keep it simple, like the other one was ENS160 for both the device name and the actual device. And we are just going to use that connection show, and we can see here the name was now changed to ENS192, and same with the device is still 192. So real quick, another thing we are going to do is we are going to copy our dhcpd.service little file here from this directory. We are going to copy it into the system directory here. What we are going to do is we are going to just edit that file that is now in our systems directory, just using VI, and we are just going to edit this part right over here and change it to the ENS192, which is our device name. And we are just going to really quickly just reload the daemon here, and we are going to restart the DHCP. We are just going to quickly check the status of our DHCPD using this here, and we can see it's active and running. And we're just going to quickly enable the DHCP. So it creates a symlink. So we can see for over on the client side, in ENS192, it has given it a IP of 9 and 25, which is within the range we had given it, which was 21 and 30. So it looks like the firewall is allowing the DHCP connection, but if it wasn't, you could just use this command here, firewall command, add service DHCP permanent, to allow the DHCP service through the firewall. And then just to make sure the changes stay, just use reload. While making this video, the NFS file sharing was not working, so I won't be able to show you today a live version of that, unfortunately. I've just spent a while trying to figure out what went wrong. I have no idea. It worked well on my test one. So as you see here, this is the client. This is my test. This was the client one, and it had worked. You can see the backups that you'd backed up on the server. So it showed that those two were connected through the NFS file sharing. I just don't know what went wrong on my live demo. So unfortunately, yeah, I will not be able to show that to you today. So again, my live demo has decided to fail me. When testing the RSS log, it again did not connect between the two. I really have no idea what has gone wrong between the live demo, because I've done basically the exact same thing as my tests last night, and those worked. on the server. I mean, I can show you, like on the server here, done the rsys the rsys log config. I put the exact same thing as I had put in on my server on the slide demo. Enable the firewall, restarted it, and looked at the messages. And then on the client, I have edited the rsys log config file, exact same as I did on the live demo, and I was able to test the log, and the test log here was from the rsys log here, so that's what that was showing on there. For the sake of time and effort, I am not going to try the next kind of versions. Even on my test files, I never got the backup to work, the final one. I was able to get the NTP server working, having the time sync eventually. It took a while last night. For the sake of time and effort, I am not going to continue on with the live demo. Unfortunately, this did not go how I planned. It worked fine on my test one last night. So you can show you on here. The crony config file, restarted, enabled it. The firewall, had to download, install some other packages, use that in the tools. So I downloaded to get the crony up and running here. Yeah, I had to edit the crony config file a couple times, to looking into it, had to restart it a couple times, mapping up the time. So I just had to disable one of them just to take out the priority, and it ended up working because I was stuck on the gateway for a long time. But eventually I did get it to have the IP address up and going here, so that it ended up actually working. I hadn't gotten the backup completed. I just wasn't able to get that one up either. Yeah, so many things went wrong, starting with the bridge. That took forever, just even figuring out. That was just more issue with my computer, unfortunately. Wasn't able to figure out that part. Yeah, so just for the sake of time and effort, I really continue. So I apologize for that. But thank you so much for listening, and have a good day.